When we last left off, I was discussing the absolute snooze fest that is Kingdom Hearts 2, and how it continues this franchise's streak of being wasted potential. If you haven't watched the first video yet, I heavily recommend you watch it before you watch this video. Alright, let's continue right back where we were before. As Roxas meets up with his friends, one of them discusses if they are going to be friends forever, which ties into the whole theme this franchise has of friendship. Now, I have nothing against this whatsoever, but it unfortunately doesn't make me change my mind about where I stand on this franchise. Anyways, it turns out that their summer vacation is nearly over, and they decide that, as one final hurrah, they'll go to the beach. The only problem is that they don't have any money at all. As the gang go outside, we get another positive thing that I'll say about this game, and this is something that I'm surprised I didn't bring up in the videos for the first game. This game gives you a mini-map on the top right corner of the screen, so that you can know where you're going. This is yet another feature that they should have put into the first game, as at times, it would be extremely easy to get lost at certain points. Stuff like the vines in deep jungle that look like they are part of the background and not something that you could interact with, would have been easily solved if they added a mini-map, so that you could know that the vines were climbable. Knowing how the first game is, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if you had to unlock the mini-map later into the game. And despite how long I played the game for, not once did I ever obtain a mini-map. You know what? Why not go for a 2-in-1 combo? Another positive thing that I will say about this game, is that they give you this skateboard to ride. It's a completely optional thing, and they really didn't have to put it in, but they did, and it's surprisingly fun to ride around on it. You can perform various tricks when you're in the air, and you can even grind on the stair rails. The only problems I have with the skateboard are that there are no ramps anywhere on the map, and the town feels very small and enclosed. If the town was more wide open, riding the skateboard would feel even more fun. But other than that, I'm surprised that we're starting this video off with two positives back to back. Thank you Kingdom Hearts 2 for once again showing how much better you are when compared to the first game. If only you weren't so damn slow and boring to play through. Anyways, the gang then go and discuss exactly how much money they'll need in order to go to the beach. They split up to do various jobs to get the money. As we return to the gameplay, we are now able to apply for different jobs. Ah yes, this is exactly the kind of riveting gameplay that I would expect to see from an anime Disney crossover game. The kids that bought this game because they saw Disney characters on the front cover must have been jumping up and down in excitement when they got to this part. Okay, let's just talk about these games. The first game is a mail delivery game where you have to deliver mail to various people across town. There's nothing for me to say about this game, but I suppose it's not that bad. The second game involves you hitting a large bag up to a hill in order to get it inside of a garage. If you time your combos right, you are able to get the bag further up the hill. I surprisingly didn't have an awful time playing this game, but I can definitely see how it can be hard for some people to play. The final game I played involves you hitting a ball and seeing how long you can keep it in the air for. The longer it's in the air, the more money you get. Again, there's not much for me to say about this game. It's fine, I guess. There are other jobs to do, but I didn't do them, as playing these 3 games alone helped get me enough money. Roxas meets up with his friends at the train station, and they have enough money to purchase tickets for the beach. As they go to get the tickets, one of those dark cloaked guys attacks Roxas, only to immediately disappear. As it turns out, the dark cloaked figure stole the bag of money, meaning Roxas and his friends are unable to go to the beach. Roxas tries explaining this to his friends, but they naturally don't believe him. We cut to the 4 of them sitting on top of a clock, eating ice cream. And this is where I will say another positive thing about this game. The graphics. Like the first game, the graphics look great for a PS2 game. It's a shame that I never got to see the Disney worlds that are in this game, as I imagine they are very faithful to their source material, like with the first game. Anyways, we cut to that computer area again, where no, I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain what the deal is with these scenes. We get even more footage from the first game, and, wow, I couldn't believe it when I first saw this cutscene. But it actually is possible to defeat the Cerberus in Olympus Coliseum after all. Who would have thought? We then cut to a room with some girl in it, Who is she? I don't know, and I don't care. We then cut to the third day, and, yeah, this is getting really boring. I know. Don't worry. We're almost done with this. We'll get through this together. I promise. Roxas wakes up, comes across a letter, and finds out that he and his friends are able to go to the beach after all. He finds two of his friends, who just randomly freeze while in the middle of walking, as the aforementioned girl appears in front of Roxas. The girl disappears, and everything goes back to normal. Roxas tries to find the girl in the forest, before a portal appears, and those weird creatures pop out, causing him to run back. Another fight with the creatures ensue. The creatures surround the bullies, who are now frozen, as the mysterious girl appears yet again, advising Roxas to use the Keyblade. One of the creatures attacks Roxas, and he gets sent to that weird stained glass place from the opening tutorial of the first game. A sword, a shield, and a wand all appear out of nowhere, and you have to choose which one to go with. Gee, I wonder where I've seen this before. Boy, I sure do love having moments like this that give me serious anxiety over how the game will permanently change depending on which one I use. And that even though there's no wrong answer, I'm still scared that whatever I go with could potentially screw up my playthrough of the game for good. Anyways, whichever one you choose, Roxas gets the Keyblade, and we begin another fight with these creatures. After fighting the creatures, a chest appears. Inside the chest is a potion. This part of the game is essentially a repeat of the opening tutorial from the first game, except unlike the first game, you have to sit through 20 million years worth of boring cutscenes in order to get to the tutorial. Again, you can skip the cutscenes, which is a great addition, but what good does that do if skipping the cutscenes isn't a recommended thing to do, because then I won't be able to understand the storyline of this game without them? I swear, for every improvement Kingdom Hearts 2 has over the first game, there's like 3 things that drag it back down to being on the same level of bad, and here's yet another thing to drag it back down. In the first game, when you're in battle and you need to perform magic, but you accidentally choose items instead, rather than have the cursor be on items, it instead defaults back to being on attack, which can seriously screw you over when you're in battle. Yeah, that makes its return in this game just wonderful. Square Enix really decided to fix the unskippable cutscenes for Kingdom Hearts 2, and then never fix any of the other problems that the first game had. I am so unbelievably grateful that I never got to see what the gummy ship mini games are like in this game, because it genuinely makes me cringe just thinking about how much worse it could be compared to in the first game. Anyways, a door appears behind Roxas, and we go inside of it. We then come across our first proper boss fight of the game, as well as the exact point where I decided, no, I'm not even gonna bother playing through any more of this garbage. This boss starts off with a series of quick time events, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. However, the real problem comes when you reach the part where you can freely hurt the boss. Now, this boss would be a walk in the park, if it weren't for one simple thing: the health bar for the boss isn't visible. No, seriously, I don't get it. I really don't. I cannot fathom how, or why the people at Square Enix thought the enemy's health bars should be turned off by default, and you have to turn them on manually. If it was the other way around, then I would be fine with it. It would give the player a completely optional and more challenging alternative for the bosses. But no, they are invisible by default. And not only do you have to manually make them visible in the pause menu, but you also have to unlock them by leveling up Sora or Roxas to a certain level, which is just an unbelievably cruel thing to do. When you're properly fighting the boss, it shoots out lightning, which obviously hurts you. But the thing is, midway through, the lightning just abruptly stops, before fading away, and I have no idea if the lightning can hurt you when it's in this frozen position or not. You have to keep hitting the boss, without knowing how much damage you're doing to it, and without even knowing if you're close to defeating the boss or not. This is why health bars are so important for boss fights. Literally every normal video game has visible health bars for the boss fights because of this. Anyone watching this video that's a fan of this garbage franchise, please, give me one, just one, good reason why the enemy health bar shouldn't be visible by default. because no matter how hard I try, I cannot think of a valid reason as to why Square Enix would make such an idiotic backwards decision. Because it makes the game more challenging? If by more challenging, you mean more unfair, then sure, I suppose it makes it more challenging. Again, if the health bars were visible by default, and you could optionally turn them off in the pause menu, then it would be a challenge. But because it's the other way around, it just comes across as an awful gameplay design. Who, at Square Enix, thought this was a good idea? The first game's bosses were already annoying enough with the extremely long and unskippable cutscenes that preceded them. It didn't need invisible health bars to make them even more insufferable, but it did. And even if I were to beat this boss, it's not like I'm gonna automatically unlock scan after it. Who knows how far I'd have to get into the game before I could finally unlock scan. And again, this is the first time you get to properly engage with the gameplay. Prior to this, you just got non-stop cutscenes that last for minutes and minutes, with extremely small glimpses of the gameplay thrown in on rare occasions. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're just thrown into this massive boss, still not 100% adjusted to how the game plays due to the saturation of cutscenes that you were forced to sit through, because otherwise, you wouldn't be able to understand the storyline if you skip the cutscenes. It's just a complete and utter mess all around. Recently, I decided to look up footage of Kingdom Hearts 3, without caring about the storyline, without caring about spoilers, without caring about any of that nonsense, just to see if maybe Square Enix finally got it right with the health bars. After all, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 both came out in 2002 and 2005 respectively. Kingdom Hearts 3 came out in 2019. It is still a very recent game. So if Square Enix didn't have the health bars be visible by default in this still very new game, then there must be something seriously wrong with this company. Imagine my surprise when I saw that, for the first time, the enemy health bars were there from the very beginning, as it should have been. There was no leveling up Sora until you can unlock scan nonsense like before. It had the health bars there from the start, like a normal video game would. It honestly makes me wonder why Kingdom Hearts 3 is generally considered to be inferior to the first two games by so many fans. It fixes two extremely big problems that shouldn't have been in these games in the first place. What more could you possibly ask for? I've noticed that there's been a pattern, where each numbered game fixes a flaw from the previous numbered game. Kingdom Hearts 1 established all of the big three flaws. Kingdom Hearts 2 got rid of the unskippable cutscenes, and Kingdom Hearts 3 made the enemy health bars visible by default. Maybe Kingdom Hearts 4 will completely get rid of the gummy ship mini-games, and become the first amazing game in the franchise. The antithesis of the first game. Only time will tell. And maybe, just maybe, Kingdom Hearts 5, if such a game were to ever be made, could finally make the storyline easy to understand. But I think I might be asking for too much. Going back to this boss, I did like maybe 2 or 3 attempts to beat it, before I finally decided that it wasn't worth it. I'm sure Kingdom Hearts 2 gets much better as it goes on, and that it is genuinely a significant improvement over the first game, but that first part of the game really turned me away from wanting to play it more, and I'm genuinely frustrated that there might not be a single good game in this franchise. Listen, if I don't like the two most famous and critically acclaimed installments of the entire series, what honestly makes you think that I'll like any of the other games? It doesn't make any sense. With that said, allow me to discuss my final thoughts on this game. I don't know if I would really classify Kingdom Hearts 2 as a terrible game necessarily. I'd say the more accurate word to describe this game is disappointing. To be fair, I also consider the first game to be disappointing, but it has so many flaws in it that it makes me call it a terrible game without hesitation. Kingdom Hearts 2 inherits a lot of the flaws that the first game had, like the enemy health bars, but the main problem that I have with this game is that it's really boring. The first game was really boring at times as well, but it also had really frustrating moments in it, and although that is far from a good thing, at least it made me feel something. At least I felt an emotion when I played the first game. It's a negative emotion, sure, but it's an emotion nonetheless. I felt nothing playing Kingdom Hearts 2. I just sat there watching these cutscenes, thinking to myself, when is this game finally gonna get interesting? You could argue that part of the reason why I didn't engage with the storyline of the game was because I never beat the first game, nor did I play Chain of Memories. But again, I am not wasting money on a game that I could potentially hate, regardless of which version I go with. And the first Kingdom Hearts is one of the worst video games I've ever played. Possibly the worst game I've ever played. Now that I actually think about it, I've played games that I suppose could be worse, but I went into them knowing that they're bad. I really expected Kingdom Hearts to be good, and I really wanted it to be good, and I think that makes it much worse for me. Playing a game that you expect to be good, but ends up being bad, is a far worse feeling than playing a game that you already know will be bad. I have no shame in saying that my two least favorite games of all time are a game that's widely acclaimed as one of the greatest video games ever made, and a game that I refuse to even play once, despite regretfully having it in my possession. I see that potential that lies in Kingdom Hearts. I really do. I don't hate on these games because I want to be an edgy contrarian. I hate on them because I really wanted them to be masterpieces like everyone else claimed them to be. And I'm sorry, but any game that has the gummy shit mini games in them is not a masterpiece to me. No exceptions. None of this would have happened if Sora didn't join Smash, especially not as the final fighter. Good god, it's crazy how something like this could eventually spiral down into this madness. This cynical attitude and bitter hatred that I have towards a corporation that doesn't even know I exist. It all started just because of this one single image. That is actually insane. Anyways, that's all I have to say about Kingdom Hearts 2, and hopefully the Kingdom Hearts franchise as a whole, because despite the slight praise that I gave it earlier, I don't ever want to touch Kingdom Hearts 3, or any of the numerous spin-off games that you need to play in order to understand the storyline. No thanks. I'm good. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.